Bonjour, welcome back. It's our final speaker of the event. My name is Emma Nidijinikas, and I work with NAN. Our last speaker is Darren Lentz from Lakehead Public Schools, speaking about Academy Program, Community Culture, Language. Academy Programs, Community Culture, Language, and the Land in an Experiential Education Model. Darren Lentz is presently an administrator with Lakehead Public Schools. He is a proud father of two amazing children and stepchildren. He is passionate about land-based learning and has been taking students on the land for over 25 years. He has received a provincial teaching award for his integration of traditional knowledge into the curriculum, as well as a national award for his work as a principal. He is an instructor at Lakehead University in the B.Ed program and the Indigenous Language Instructors program, as well as an instructor with Brock University B.Ed program. Go ahead, Darren Lentz.
Bonjour, welcome. It's my honor to be the last presenter. I've seen many of the presentations, and it's going to be a super hard act to follow. So. Thunder Bay Nindonji and Darren Shnekas, I wanted to start out by honoring the land that I'm on as the traditional territory of Fort William First Nation and the Métis. And I wanted to also start my presentation today with a little quote of a very inspirational author and somebody I got to meet a while back on a canoe build when I was building a canoe in Grassy Narrows First Nation at their site of their blockade. And I'd like to share this quote as we think about and reflect on what's going on in our world today. And if you do need to take a break or take a sip of water or anything at any time or need to break away, please feel free to do that. The quote is this: I've been considering the phrase, all of my relations, for some time now. It's hugely important. It's our saving grace in the end. It points to the truth that we are all related. We are all connected. We all belong to each other. The most important word is all, not just those who look like me, sing like me, dance like me, speak like me, pray like me, or behave like me. All of my relations. It means every person, just as it means every blade of grass, every rock, mineral, and creature. We live because everything else does. If we were to collectively choose to live that teaching, that energy of that change of consciousness would heal us all and heal the planet. We do it one person at a time, one heart at a time. We are connected. We are the answer. All of my relations. Kakina ni totem. And that's from Mr. Richard Wagamis. I'm honored to share today about our Academy program here at Kingsway Park Public School in Thunder Bay with Lakehead Public Schools. I was honored to listen to Lisa and Tanya talk about the amazing program they have going at one of our high schools here in town. And it really speaks to the importance of land-based learning, which what this conference, this land and language is all about, and celebrating the various programs. And I just wanted to acknowledge all the other programs and partnerships and places out there that are doing this very important work. There are so many great examples of this, and I'm honored to be able to share this presentation with you. So I'm going to share my screen. One of the things I always tell people is we always need a goal to work on. One of mine is technology. So this is why I'm presenting this virtual presentation today. So we have an Academy program at Kingsway, And there's four things that are super important when I'm talking about this academy. And every slide I go through and every image that you see, I want you to keep these four things in mind. And those four things are community, culture, language, and land. So I want you to see if you can see them. I know it's hard because they're only pictures, but they say a picture is 1,000 words. So hopefully you can see those four elements. And I start with this picture here on the first slide because it's an important, I want to share a story with you. If some of you have never read, I suggest you do read Braiding Sweetgrass by Robin Wall Kimmerer. She talks about a story that I always like to share with students and folks that I'm doing classes with. She shares a story of her beginning her journey. Robin is a Potawatomi botanist who studied and went to study at university. When she went there, she had a vision of what she wanted to study. And one of her things that she wanted to know about was why asters and goldenrods look so beautiful together. And when she told one of the professors that were interviewing her about that, the professor said, that's not a question we can answer in science. Beauty is not something we can answer. And we all know, because we're here attending this conference, that beauty is something that affects us all when we're outdoors and when we're amongst the trees and the plants out in the bush. But this professor, who was a very scholarly fellow who studied trees and botany, said that beauty is not something we can answer. But she found out by looking through a different lens, and that's sometimes what we need to do, is look through a different lens. She looked through a different lens and she found truly that the beauty in asters and goldenrods were an important part of what made them important things in the environment, because bees have receptors that notice the opposites in the colors of goldenrods and asters. So they grew together so that the bees could pollinate them and they could reproduce and send their pollen everywhere. So beauty did have a very important part, but the narrow view that sometimes we have with those blinders on sort of hinders us. And it hinders our education system. So we have heard amazing examples of working outside that square box that we often envision education to be. And it is very enlightening to see this kind of discussion talked about in this forum that NAN is doing with this education symposium. And so the next slide I want to share is we're starting from an Indigenous curriculum model. And I think this is important. We're a provincial school here, Kingsway, but I want to highlight that even though we're a provincial school that follows provincial curriculum and we do that, this program is actually built on an Indigenous curriculum model, which I think is super important. It's super important because that Anishinaabe education system sustained people for thousands of years. And many of the amazing things in our education system we see today, from different learning programs to character education to mental health and wellness and community-based learning, all were a part of Indigenous curriculum for thousands of years. And so I want to highlight that idea of community, culture, language, and land. And where I actually got these four words from was during my master's work at Lakehead. I interviewed elders from around Northwestern Ontario from Treaty 3 and Treaty 9. And I asked them to share their stories with me about their life growing up and their education when they were on the land, when they were in their communities and in the bush. What did their education look like? And the four themes that came out of all those stories were community, culture, language, and land were embedded in all their stories about education. And so it's with those that I want you to look through that lens as we move through these. And that's at the heart of this program that I'm about to share with you. Everything that we do, we think about those four aspects. We think about community, we think about culture, we think about language, and we think about land. And they're all important. Doesn't matter whether you're from the Anishinaabe culture, when you're from, a culture that comes from another place. All of those things are important in developing the center of that circle is that student learning. That student is at the center of the circle. And you see the four aspects that we know are so important in holistic education: spiritual, physical, emotional, and mental well-being and health are at the heart of education. And the three words you see in the purple, participate, reflect, and apply, are three things that are important in experiential education. We get students to participate, we get them to reflect on their experiences, and then they apply that. So as we move forward, I want you to take a peek at those things in each of the images. So our academy program, what does it look like? What is it? What's at the heart of an academy program? How is it different than other programs that are run at other elementary schools across the province? Well, we run this in our 7 and 8 program, and it's specific to this school. There are other schools running different academy programs within Lakehead Public Schools, but ours is a little different. And here's how it works. So we have a regular 7 and 8 program. We have Rotary that students go to. But within the program, we embed experiential opportunities that we've identified as key opportunities that will pull out the learning that is required for them to do in their 7 and 8 curriculum. So we have a focus on the first term on outdoor physical and environmental education. So a lot of land-based learning. And these are some of the activities that we participate in. We do canoeing and archery. We do certification-based programs within the academy program. So students walk out of here in grade 7 and 8 with numerous certifications that they can add to their resume even before high school begins. So they get their Orca canoeing certification. We do dog sledding experiences. We bring dog sleds and dogs into the school, and we go to various places to do dog sledding. We do downhill skiing, some cross-country skiing. We do rock climbing. We do their hunter education and safety course, so they actually get their hunter education course as a part of their 7 and 8 program. We do ethnobotany with various elders coming in and teaching them about ethnobotany while they're on the land. Traditional games. This is a huge part of our physical education academy. We introduce all the traditional games that were out there. We bring in lacrosse teachers and professional lacrosse players to teach the kids in the phys ed program. And then we also empower the kids to learn about traditional games through teachings from local resource people and elders, and some of our Lakehead Public School First Nation, Métis, and Inuit teachers, resource teachers come in to help us. We use Fort William Historical Park, and they become then the teachers of those traditional games. And we run a traditional games play day at the school where the 7s and 8s teach the younger kids. And that's so important to empower those kids with that knowledge and reciprocate the giving back of that knowledge, that reciprocation that's so important in Indigenous education. We do canoe building. Anybody that knows me knows that canoes have to be involved with anything I do. But they, of course, the powerful message of canoe building, and I'm going to share, if there's time at the end, our reconciliation canoe project that we worked with the Canadian Canoe Museum. We go spruce root harvesting. We go on the land and harvest the resources to build a lot of these different things, to do a lot of these different things, including birch bark basket making and other traditional technologies. We also visit local First Nation communities. For many of our students, many are from the city of Thunder Bay, and they've never visited a First Nation community before. Even Fort William First Nation, some people have never been over to Fort William First Nation to visit. So developing the relationship with that community is so important, and bringing the community into the school and going out to the community. Last year, we had the privilege of traveling up to a remote First Nation community. We went to Collins, Ontario, and the chief from that community invited us up, and we went up and shared. Students from our school took our archery equipment up, and we went and we shared archery with the kids up at Collins, and we got to skidoo in. And for many of the kids, that was the first time ever being in a remote First Nation community, and it was eye-opening for them. And they were welcomed and taught by the community, and in return, they gave back to the community with their skills of archery. And of course, you can't have a school in Thunder Bay without a little bit of hockey action in it. So we have hockey as a part of our academy. Here you can see some images of our outdoor academy in progress. Where archery is a big part. We're a part of the National Archery in Schools program. I brag because it's not me it's the coach, but one of our teachers here is the coach, and we've been two-time junior and intermediate archery champions in Ontario with our students. And archery really is a sport that allows everybody to succeed, and we've had some amazing archers here, and we make it a part of our whole program. You can see students building small model replicas before we build our bark canoe, learning about design concepts, student teaching the younger kids about traditional games, reciprocating that knowledge that he's in turn learned from some of our cultural teachers and some of the knowledge that he did by research. Lacrosse, you see them on the land gathering spruce roots, and you see pictures of them canoeing and spending time on the land. And so all of these activities are integrated into our program. And the second part of our academy, so that's term one. Term two is we have a focus on our fine arts. So we bring arts into it, and every aspect of the arts. You heard Hammarskjöld talk about the amazing impact foods has on, and we have such amazing organizations doing work with food from roots to harvest to the National Food Distribution Plant here, and all the people in between. We have a culinary program at the college, and we work with the college program. We work with our culinary program, and we work with students developing culinary skills. And then they have the aspect to investigate and look at traditional foods from various cultures. We've had folks from the Italian community come in, the East Indian community come in and teach kids about the various cultural foods. We have an artist in residence program, and where we have traditional artists come in. A friend here, George Price, a Coast Salish carver, came in and did paddles with the kids, and made paddles with the kids, and talked about his teachings from the West Coast and his carving traditions. We have local artists, Dina Kruger, and that came in and worked with our students on birch and palette knife painting. We did sgraffito work on birch bark and birch bark basket making with a friend and community member from Fort William First Nation, coming in and teaching the kids about bark canoe making, paddle making, and canoe building. We are part of the Lakehead Music Festival. So kids participate in a full music program here, and then they develop those skills and they share them in and allow them to go use those skills in a real life setting and a real life adjudication, which really puts the kids on another level when it comes to sharing their musical talents. We have a music mentorship program. We've with local high school, their music kids have come over and shared. That mentorship of students mentoring other students is super powerful. The art gallery, sharing their work and developing programs at the art gallery, in where students then curate their own art show. So not only are they doing art within the class, but then they're curating their own show and sharing their work at the gallery. So it becomes authentic learning. One of our biggest events is our Cake Boss. So students actually develop and make their own cakes. They do all the programming and planning of it. They develop their skills with the icing of the cake. You wouldn't believe some of the amazing cakes that have come out of our Cake Boss challenge. And it's a super powerful activity that might not be land-based, but it sure is integrating their knowledge, and they love to eat it afterwards. So also, we have a number of certification-based programs that we do, from first aid to babysitting to bike safety. They earn so many different certifications in the end from their program. Here you can see us celebrating the arts. Everything from students organize our local gathering. We have a small drum social and powwow, and they organize that and become owners of that event. So it becomes much more meaningful. And then they go around sharing what kids are going to see and hear at the powwow and share their knowledge. You can see them in the culinary program. Our carver working with them here in the bottom corner. We utilize, of course, as important, utilizing our local elders. See a good friend and elder and teacher, Marcel Bananish, working with our students with the drum and doing drum teachings. The drum is a major part of our program here. We are the keepers of the Lakehead Public School drum, and we got to work in partnership. The KZ Lodge, who did a presentation, helped us refurbish our drum and put a new skin on it with their class, which is awesome. And we take this drum to other schools and share. And then we open the school year every year with the drum and close it with the drum, which is important teaching that we learned and share with all our students here. Students going to use the high school program and integrating with them to cut out their paddles so that they become fully engaged in the whole process. And the big thing is celebrating the students' learning. You can see a certificate of achievement here where we celebrate the student learning that they do. And you can see the canoe building in the side there, building a canoe in partnership with a variety of different places, including the Canoe Museum in Peterborough, Ontario. So here's where we take that Indigenous curriculum model of using community, culture, language, and land, and we think of those activities that we want the kids to participate, and we use those and we link the curriculum to it. So we're almost planning the opposite way. We're thinking of community, culture, language, and land first. Then we're linking activities that will highlight those different aspects of community, culture, language, and land. And we're bringing in links to the curriculum. And you can see I've shown some of the provincial curriculum here on the one side and some of, organizing ideas. Where can you do that? Well, kids are doing that in various activities when they're organizing a traditional games play day for the other kids in the school. Where are they learning their math and science? And even though we're teaching them those skills within math and science class, we bring in aspects of these experiences that they've done outside the class, like orienteering and working on running transits and using compass bearings and measurements for paddles, for the math involved in basketry and the net drawings. We use water studies for science, studying water, and I'll share a little bit about Water is Life project, in which we engaged with Lakehead University and a variety of elders and the college in doing water studies. And so we use those activities to build in the curriculum that we want to ensure that the kids have before they leave here in grade 7 and 8. So we're readying them for their secondary and post-secondary options. And then, of course, within the visual arts, we have the Lakehead Music Festival. We get them to organize talent shows. artisan residency programs using various techniques of art, and the artists, of course. What better person to teach art than an actual professional artist? And our students and our teachers facilitating that process. So those are all avenues in which we connect those activities to the curriculum that we have to follow. You can see here an example of the art show that kids curated. It's very professional. It was at the Thunder Bay Art Gallery. We opened it up with our elder and friend Audrey DeRoy opened it up for us, celebrating all the learning that the kids did with their art projects, and learning to carve the paddles, learning the Coast Salish style artwork from an actual artist from the West Coast, and then being able to put that show together and curate it at the gallery here in town was a huge deal. And parents could come, community could come and celebrate the kids' knowledge, and they reciprocate that knowledge and give back to the community the knowledge that they learned about this process. You can see them here at the Creative Art Gallery. Again, another art show opening. A way to get parents out is to host an art show and bring food. You always get parents out when you bring food and host something where you can show off the talents of their kids. And it's an empowering way to really recognize the students' learning. Here's another example of a project in which we incorporated, connecting their activity to the curriculum. So a lot of times you go, well, how do you get these activities that you do, like getting on the land and doing canoeing? How can you relate it back to the provincial curriculum? Because nowhere in the provincial curriculum does it say you're going to, students are going to learn how to do the J-stroke, how to canoe, all the things in the canoe that are necessary. It doesn't say that. But there's so many links that you can make. Here, we had the students highlight their land learning. So every time they went on the land to learn something new, they shared it. We had a partnership with the local newspaper and the outdoor section of the newspaper. Our students wrote articles for the outdoor section of the newspaper, the Chronicle Journal, and they shared their knowledge of the activity that they did on the land with people in our bigger community. So why go canoeing? There's so many benefits to canoeing, and the kids got to share it in an article. So they wrote an article that was actually published in the paper. And so a good authentic writing opportunity for the students. So you can see here, here's one of them. There's ones on snowshoeing. There's ones on some of the other experiences they've done on the land, from their archery to traditional games. But the students wrote the articles and then shared them with the local newspaper. So an authentic writing experience. And the teacher said the writing that they got was just phenomenal, because they had an audience and they had a way to share their writing for a purpose. One of the big things is documenting the journey. It's about connecting their learning and showing the community and teaching and giving back to community, because community is one of those values that was so important in Indigenous education, and reciprocating. And the community had a responsibility to educating the young people. Everybody had their role in teaching various things. So we give back through, of course, media, Facebook. We give back on their Academy Award. We have an Academy Awards night with an actual red carpet that we give out, and we give out this certificate that you see here in the picture. And on that certificate, they have all these experiences that they've done. It's amazing to see their faces. They've gone dog sledding, downhill skiing, hunter education, and all these different experiences that they've done, and they reflect on them and go, wow, we did a lot this year. We use Seesaw, of course, to share back and share out with our parents, and as a tool for them to reflect on their learning. And of course, a big part of that is their reflection notebooks. So how do you capture the assessment and evaluation piece of land-based learning? As educators, we need to give assessment. We need to, within the system that we are working within, we need to assess and evaluate student learning. And so how do we do that when we're on the land and doing those assessment pieces? And there are so many ways in doing that. One of the stories I would share, the elder that was responsible for helping me learn how to make birch bark canoes, I asked him, Gilbert, I was just wondering, like, how did you assess, like, how good the canoe was, or how do you think I should assess kids? And he said, well, we would, the elder would take us to an island and we'd build a canoe, and then he'd leave us there. And if we got off with our canoe, we passed. And he said, well, we can't do that nowadays, but he joked and he said, because the assessment was in the actual production of the item that you were doing, or the experience that you were involved in. That was the important thing. It's the experience. So reflecting is super important. We do not learn from experience. We learn from reflecting on experience. John Dewey. So every experience the kids participate in, they have a reflection journal, and we've gotten some amazing writing. They're reflecting, and that's part of the experiential learning part of it. They reflect on their learning, and that transforms their experience into genuine learning, where they start to pull out some of the key values, and they start to think about the social issues involved, and how to bring back their knowledge to do good things for their community. In our canoe project, we give back the canoe that they build to the bigger community, and we give it back to various organizations. The Lakehead University has 2 or 3 of our canoes. The Canadian Canoe Museum has another one of our canoes. So we give back that knowledge to other people to learn from. Reflection challenges the students to connect activities to their learning goals and the learning from the curriculum. It makes them thinkers and problem solvers. And by fostering a sense of connection to the community and a deeper awareness of community needs, reflection increases the likelihood for students to remain committed to that activity beyond the learning academy. So they learn and they take that learning with them. And traditionally, reflecting was a major part of the way learning was done. When we used to bagito a sub, go check the net and set the net, we'd ask the elder, is there fish here? When we were setting the net, and the elder goes, I don't know, let's set the net and find out if there's fish here. You reflect on your experience as you do them and figure out, and you do them, you get that learning from the experience itself. You can see here a reflection that students wrote about their, they're making brownies here in this reflection. And they talk about what they learned from making brownies. And you think, wow, they actually are learning how they learn, which is the most difficult skill to teach students, even university students, to teach them that metacognitive piece is super hard. And here we're asking 7 and 8 students to reflect on their learning. And it's amazing what they're coming up with in their reflections, which you're going to see at the end transforms to them understanding how they learn better and being more successful students in the end. On the left-hand side of the screen there, you can see questions to ask the students. As teachers, oftentimes you might not be facilitating activities on the land becomes the teacher. But you need to continually ask those reflecting questions, stop the learning if it's, at the right time, and ask the kids some questions to think about, how they are learning and what they learn from that particular activity. Super important. Community partners and planning. Of course, all of these you've heard in a lot of them, partnerships are super important. Community is everything. So getting community involved, whether you're in a remote First Nation community, or whether you're in a small town in Northwestern Ontario or in a big city center, well, big as Thunder Bay, there's always people to create partnerships with. There's always people to create relationships with, whether they're local elders, local resource people. You create those partnerships with those people and think about the activities that you want to do over the course of your learning period, and think about those questions and those answers you want to get, and get the kids to delve into. And then you create those partnerships. We have partnerships with, the M&R, Confederation College, Lakehead University, and creating those partnerships give your kids more opportunity to learn in various settings. And then they're actually ready. They're ready to go to college. They're ready to go to university. Some of our kids are ready by the time they get out of grade 8. They've had these experiences in, not that I want to push them right through high school, but they've been using the GIS lab at Conn College and doing GIS work with mapping in grade 8. And I didn't do that till I was in university. And even then I had trouble with it. So they're getting all these experiences ahead of time because of those partnerships. So those are important things to set up. We always have goals and we always reflect on our learning. And I'm just about getting to time, and we have a video at the end so that you get to hear some of the student voice, because unfortunately we can't bring student voice in this way, shape, or form. It was nice to hear the students talk at the conference on the first day at lunch. But you can see some of our goals reflecting on things that we can do better, things that we can look at. Permission slips, getting permission slips, trying to collect permission slips as a teacher for students, asking them to bring permission slips, it just drives teachers bonkers. And of course, many of the activities were on the land. You need to think about ensuring student safety, number one thing when you're on the land, and making sure that all the students are aware of the activity, aware what they need to bring, and parents and community is aware of where you're taking them and what you're doing with them. I take kids on the water all the time. There's certain things you have to make sure that you have in place before you take kids in those kind of situations. And as an administrator, that's one of the things I always make sure of. And it's that the number one thing I think of is making sure that the kids are safe whenever they're outside of the school. But it's something you have to constantly think of. Reflection journals, making sure that they have them all there so you're not collecting paper from all over the place. So you continue to reflect on the programs that you're providing and are always changing them and are always taking suggestions. You always have room to improve. So that's really important. Finally, always being open to student voice and change in your program. This was an awesome example of that. We had a student that came from Deer Lake, and she, in a culinary program, she brought to us a learning opportunity that she wanted to share. So we always open up to student voice, and she wanted to share with her family. Her family wanted to share with the students at the school, cooking, that traditional cooking of a goose, bashko bazige, burning the feathers off the goose, and students love that. And the opportunity to share her culture with other students was super powerful, and opening up the opportunity to do that. And it fit in perfectly with the academy and our culinary and learning of traditions. And it fit in perfectly with community, culture, language, and land. And those were always at the heart of everything that we do within this program. Getting to the end of my presentation, I want to share this. Lots of, especially administrators, teachers, and boards, obviously a lot of them want data. Why should we start something like this? What's the data show about student improvement? This is amazing. Our board has been really excellent at collecting data on the academy programs. And this is some of the data from our program. We've been running our academy for, well, it'll be 4 years this year. And the data from our high school is our students have consistently, who have participated in the academy program at Kingsway, that land, community, culture, and language, have now brought their learning to the high school and are consistently doing better in high school than we've ever seen our students do. We've had increases in academic English of 5%, increases in applied English of our students, 7% increase. In academic math results, a 7% increase, 8% in overall applied mathematics. So students participating in the applied mathematics, that have gone through the Kingsway program have done, better than they ever have done. At the end there, you can see 17 grade 9 students entering from Kingsway. 9 students had level 4 or higher, 10 had between 80 and 89. So that's 19 students of our graduates that left our program had better than an A average in high school in their first year. And Kingsway grad had an average of 90% or better in February 2019. So the data from student success is showing that this type of learning is better for our students. It's academically better, it's preparing them better for their post-secondary studies. And of course, we know it's preparing them better for life and the holistic student. So again, we recognize that curriculum model, that Indigenous curriculum model. I wanted to say we've also been recognized and evaluated by Inspire as a best practice. We had Indigenous academic come and they did a academic review of our program, and we met the criteria for best practice, and we're really proud of that because they've come in and taken a look at that academic rigor, but also the culture, language, community aspect, and took a detailed look, including talking to students and parents and community members to say, yes, this project and program is a good example. So the last thing I'd like to share, I'm going to stop sharing this, and I'm going to share my video of student voice. So hopefully it shares okay. Oh.
A game that's been passed down from generation to generation. It was said to be a healing game because if a family member was sick or you were, you would play this game, it would make them or you feel better. It's a fun game because it really emphasizes on teamwork because you have to just pass before you can score at least once.
Days like this, it shows what being out in nature is like in city. Because I feel like if kids are always on their phones or watching TVs, they never get outside and try new things, right? I think it is important to have wilderness access because then kids need to live a little, you know? empowered and lucky when performing in front of audiences. Not everybody gets the opportunity we have to be able to play and learn music in our schools. It is empowering to know that you can play such wonderful songs with the great help of our music teacher.
At the start, I did not like art. I thought I was going to be terrible at it. And by the end, I was confident and happy with my work.
So I'd like to say thank you. Thank you very much for letting me present and letting me share some of the student work. And I'd just like to say that this project and this program and would not be possible without the amazing teachers that we have and folks that had the vision to allow us to, to explore this important way of learning. And Miigwech, thank you.
Miigwech, thank you so much. Amazing, amazing, amazing. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of time left. We don't have time for questions. So I would like to remind everyone that we will have a short break, but please don't forget to come back for the prizes and don't forget to get the survey done. On the screen right now is the Play to Win code connection. Thank you and see you all soon.